Hey Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Anyways, we do have a great show tonight. This is a good opportunity to subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Follow Reza Rifts on Instagram. You could also follow me on Instagram, Keith Reza, and don't forget my trusty backup account, Keith Reza, Keith Reza. Let's try and get those followers up. You've seen him in films like Generation X, which was probably one of the first Marvel superhero movies from Fox. You've seen him in The Barber. You've seen him in Angel Eyes. You've seen him in Under. You've seen him in Unforgiven. You've seen him in. See, my dog. I really hope he shuts up soon. I apologize, folks. You've seen him in Unforgiven. You've seen him in Wind Wild. You've seen him. Oh no, you have not. That was the other person. Okay, let's restart the credits. Okay, you've seen him in Generation X, which is probably one of the first Marvel Fox movies. You've seen him in The Barber. You've seen him in Unforgiven. You've seen him in Fly Away Home, which is one of my favorite movies, and you've seen him on the hit TV show Cold Case, starring the love of my life, Catherine Morris. Ladies and gentlemen, they're great. Jeremy Ratchford is going to be here via Zoom on Reza Rifts. Get some popcorn, get a Diet Coke, and enjoy Reza Rifts with Jeremy Ratchford. Coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Hey, Jeremy Ratchford.
What's happening?
Well, thanks so much for taking time to talk to me. I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, brother.
Yeah. So, speaking of Halloween, how was your Halloween? Did you get a lot of trick or treaters, or is that thing like all dead now? You know what I mean?
It used to be a thing.
I thought it
Uh,
was, yeah.
I used to have 5 fog machines, and I was in my old neighborhood. We were known as the house.
Yeah.
Um, we had uh, a guy I knew that would dress up like Jason or Mike Myers and track people down the street. It was quite fun. There
Oh,
were people that would
nice.
step across the street just to watch the reactions of people. At one point, he had a chainsaw without the chain, but
Yeah.
and he would chase people down the street. We did it up, but where I live now, I think there's 2 kids around the corner. It's not a Halloween neighborhood.
Yeah. Halloween's my favorite holiday, but I feel like the older you get, no neighbors want to do it. And I feel like, oh, it's kind of sad in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm. The guy down the street from us, my eldest best friend's family, the Roys, he used to build like a haunted house extending off the his it's not a garage but like a cover. They
Yeah.
got the driveway, they got kind of a covered, and he used to build off of that 3 different rooms with tarps and stuff like that, and then kids would walk through. It was yeah, we did it up in the old area. We had a lot of fun.
Well, you know what they say, Halloween is a lot like dating. You gotta knock on a lot of doors before you get any candy.
Ha!
Yeah. But since we're kind of on the spirit of Halloween, we should probably start with Junior, which was one of your first projects. And like that was like a horror type thing in the 80s where like horror wasn't really popular. Like, you know, Halloween or Nightmare on Street, those were the movies. And Junior, and now if it was made, like it'd probably be really, really known. And I wanted to know, like, how is your experience on that? Because you were the star of that, you know?
That was my very first job. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny because you brought up Halloween. I'd never seen the movie Halloween,
Oh, really?
uh, but I do a podcast with my friend Ethan for Combat Radio, and we just break down movies. And we decided to do the Halloween theme, so we did Halloween. Oh, sorry, I turned everything off. Um, I'd never seen Halloween. It's a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
I was shocked because I've seen clips of it. It's been on in the background, but I never sat down and watched the movie because it was never my genre. I've never been
Right.
a horror guy. I don't the Freddy's and Jason, like all that stuff. It was never something I don't think I haven't seen The Omen. I haven't seen The Exorcist. I don't go for those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
So I sat down and watched Halloween, and I was unbelievably, overwhelmingly surprised at what a great movie. And then to do a deep dive on it, to find out he did the soundtrack in 3 days. It was basically the beat that his dad taught him on a bongo,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And then just wrote the script in 2 weeks, shot it in 20 days. Jamie Lee Curtis, first kick at the can kind of thing. It was incredible. I was wildly impressed. It's one of a go-to now as a, a blueprint for how to make
Yeah.
a movie. But I know
You
you
know,
asked what Junior is Junior. It was once dubbed the worst horror movie of all time. Um, I had I've never been on a set like it since. I just turned 19. Um, I had a lot of fun on that show, and the movie itself is what it is. And there's always
yeah.
some kid in the back. I've done talks at classrooms and stuff like that. And there's always one kid in the back who goes, "Hey, what about Junior?" Yeah.
But you were 19 and that was, your the starring role and stuff, and I was wondering, like, did they give you like any anxiety thinking, okay, oh my God, everyone's depending on me to deliver, or did you just not really know what you were doing back then?
No, everyone was told to stay away from me
Oh,
because
really?
they didn't want my parents coming to set and taking me away.
That's pretty.
The premise of it too was they had just shot Meatballs 3. Here's the
Yeah.
trivia for you. They just shot Meatballs 3 on that location. And they shot it and they were in and out so fast. They said, well, we still got the location. Let's do another movie. So they were writing the script while we were on set.
Oh my
And
gosh.
actually, one of the writers, Doohan, um, she was the wife of Scotty from Star Trek. Um,
Oh, nice.
but they were writing literally on set with typewriters.
Yeah. It's like a John Hughes thing. Whenever he was filming a movie, he like writes a different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to go back like what you said about the Halloween soundtrack, like, because I feel like that's actually a good point. A lot of people don't realize that the soundtrack in movies, they kind of help fit the story. You know what I mean?
Well, Carpenter said in an interview too that he showed the movie to an executive without the sound or without
Yeah.
the soundtrack, and they went, "This sucks." And then he played it with the sound, and it's amazing because he said, there's no gore because they couldn't afford it, but it's
Right.
sort of the Jaws concept. Bruce the shark kept breaking down, so they had to keep coming up with ways of scaring you without showing you the shark. And in not showing you the shark, you got more terrified of the shark.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Mike Myers is the less you like, he's standing across the street or he's in the backyard with the sheets, but you don't see a lot of them. And when you do, it's through a glass door or stuff like that. It's like Carpenter learned how to scare you without using him, and then also scare you with the sound. Because all
Yeah.
you need is like a dark street and you hear boom or whatever, like da 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 da. Like he had these music cues that would terrify you. It's the same thing if you've seen some of these mashups where they put a different soundtrack on a promo for The Shining, and
Right.
it sounds like a boy and his dad on vacation. It's like got it to the trailer, and you go, it's a completely different movie.
Oh yeah,
And,
definitely.
oh,
Dee, dee, dee. I wanted to ask you, like, because when you were starting in acting, you did a lot of made for TV movies, and we're like, I don't know how the '80s were and stuff, how like those were made, but now, like when movies are made for TV, they kind of get streamed and stuff. So, do you think like that taught you like how to lead into actual like theater films?
uh, I have no idea. Like my training ground was Toronto. Uh, when I got there in like '84, and came down here in '96. Uh, it was a great training ground.
Yeah.
I did a lot of cop reenactments for a show called Top Cops, and it's funny because when I look back on it, on any given week, I'm like an off-duty cop that stumbles across a crime in progress, or I'm a beat cop that gets pushed off the roof of a building,
Right.
or I'm a seasoned detective chasing the money. And I did, you know, easily a dozen different scenarios. Um, and it was a great training ground as an actor, just because. Oh, and I also played sometimes the psychos. I did one episode where I had robbed a bank and I was on the run. And at the end of every scene, I threatened to put a shotgun to my head, telling people I'm going to
Yeah.
kill myself. And I eventually got to the point where I got a migraine headache on set, because you can't go like that. One of the best examples I can give you from my own experience on this was shooting a movie called Angel Eyes, uh, with J Lo, and Crazy Guy. Um,
Crazy.
but we were a bunch of cops in a diner, and it's full windows,
Yeah.
and doing our cop banter, having our breakfast before we start work. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it's in the movie, but the gang members drive by and they shoot out the window, and they shoot people in the restaurants. So we go from, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 to, oh, what, and you hear cut, and they've got to reset the windows. This is when you know
Right.
you're in the big leagues. This is when, oh yeah, we're just going to replace the entire front of the establishment with new glass. Uh, so we're on like a 45-minute break while they reset that, and then we got to go back in. Hey, bada bing, bada bing. And by the end of that day, because that's the master. Then you move
Yeah.
in. Then you move in. By the end of that day, you've gone from, hey, so many times. That's the one thing I, I think sometimes people don't understand, that kind of toll it takes on on you. The emotional up and down. Like you just I had an occasion on the Cold Case to break up with my wife. Of We were high school sweethearts or something like that, and it was the day after Valentine's Day, and for 5 hours I'm working with Nina Samasco, and we had to go through that heartbreak constantly for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And when you're living it, it takes its toll. It's not just, hey, everyone thinks that our business is just, red carpets, or what the Simpsons says. It's not all hams and plaques. Um, but there's that. Oh, and I'll, I'll, I'll throw one at you now.
All right.
Uh, well, it's funny that you're talking that way. So, anyways, there it was. Um, I was on the set of. I was working with Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, and he thought I was crazy.
Right.
He had to leave halfway through the shoot to go do a cage match with his brother Kane in England and then come back. And I said, biblically, with Cain and Abel, who won? And he turned to me and goes, brother, Cain ain't Abel. And I was like, ah. But while I was shooting, I had to go back to Los Angeles because I had the screen test for the Norm Macdonald show. I was up for the
Oh,
Norm
really?
Macdonald and had to sign away, like if the screen test goes right, you've already signed your deal. So you can't say, oh, now that they want me, I want red carpets and plaques.
It's funny you mentioned that because Norm Macdonald was my best friend.
Well, this is the thing of I
Yeah.
listened to your podcast with Catherine,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
funny as hell because 5 minutes into it, I was like, what? Do we swear on this? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? This guy sounds like Norm Macdonald. It was done, and then within 10 minutes, you gotta, yeah. I used to open for Norm Macdonald, and I knew Norm back in the Yuck Yuck days.
Oh, yeah.
I knew some of the comedians at Yuck Yucks. I wasn't one, but a buddy of mine, Alan Watt, was, and he and Norm were good pals. And I met him. So like we auditioned a bunch of times at Partners, which was a commercial house. And then he came up to me at the screen test at Warner Brothers, and he's like, hey, Toronto guy, huh? Yeah. Hey, Unforgiven. What's that like?" I just always found it hysterical, his cadence. But yeah, when I listened to you, and I thought, how the hell could you open up for him? Because you guys sound so much. Well, I don't know what that, because I've every once in a while you can tell a joke like him because he told jokes like no one else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
actually, I love there's one of his ones he uses Kitchener, my hometown, as there's a guy on the railroad. He's going to Kitchener. I can't remember what the end of the joke is, but so this guy, train conductor, he goes on a train. Like he was fucking hysterical. Too bad we lost one there.
So you auditioned for his show. I'm assuming you were auditioning to play the role of his best friend, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. For a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, hey, that's kind of cool that we have that story involved. I was like, wow. Like when you mentioned it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had to screen test on the stage of an Olsen's Twins show, and they were leaving as I was coming on stage because I had to do the screen test and then fly out to work with Mark.
Yeah.
And I remember just kind of hanging with Mark at one point. I said, "Fuck, now I'm waiting. Like my whole life could change tomorrow if I get like, it's that the actors thing of, if you get the gig, that's one thing. If you get the gig, you get the pilot, that's one thing. If the pilot airs and it's good, and if it airs, like every year on Cold Case, I was not comfortable until I got my contract renewal saying, as pursuant to clause blah blah blah,
Yeah.
we are having you back for another year of Cold Case. So you never know. That's the gypsy life, baby.
I wanted to ask you about like like maybe it's, I'm not saying what they're actually called, but like a chemistry test, because I've done stuff where like I go through all these auditions and then I go through a final audition, like a chemistry test, to see if you have chemistry with, whoever you're working with. And if you pass that, there's a good chance you get the gig. Have you ever gone through that, or and like not pass the chemistry test?
Uh, the only one I kind of really know about, I did a now infamous campaign, a commercial for Crispy Crunch, a chocolate bar up in Canada. The
Mm-hmm.
chocolate bar itself went from 12th to #1 seller, and I did 4 spots. Was it the only thing better than your? The only thing better than your Crispy Crunch is someone else's, and it was just a couple, and we're always trying to like, hey, you gonna finish that? Hey, can I have that? And in one of the commercials, I whisper in her ear, and she turns around and she goes, "Hey, take half." And
Yeah.
there were news segments done on what did he say to her? Like what? It was like this. Oh, and I found over time that if I actually told people what I said, because I said a dozen different things,
Right.
but once you tell people, then they go, oh, and you go, okay, yeah. So it's sort of like the Jaws thing again. I don't tell
Right.
people what I said. I say, what do you think I said? And then you get
Yeah.
what they want to hear. And you go, yeah, could have been. But that commercial came down to 4 girls and 2 guys, myself and another guy. And the audition was, we auditioned with all 4 girls, and they auditioned with all 2 guys. And it was that chemistry test. And it was just a couple sitting on a couch, watching TV, kind of hanging out on a couch, cuddling. And from what I heard, uh, the other guy, to get comfortable, took off his socks and shoes, and he had a toe ring.
What?
And yeah, he had a toe ring because he was that kind of hey. Uh, and from what I understand, the female executives just kind of went, ugh, like, ugh, ugh, like he's got a toe ring. And obviously, the girls are going to work with you because they're trying to get the gig.
Right.
So they're not going to go, toe ring. Like they won't do that. But everyone else in the room kind of went, why did this guy take, like, why did you take off? And it's not like, that's the other thing, kind of like taking off your socks and shoes in like one of these dank, audition rooms. It was just, and I basically got the commercial because that guy's toe ring.
Oh my gosh. So that's one of those cool things, like where you're thanking him that he had a toe ring.
Yeah, yeah. Can't remember his name, but yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you about Generation X, because that was probably one of the first Marvel superhero movies before X-Men. And then uh I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot or whatever, but it says you voiced Banshee in the cartoon, but it doesn't, I don't think you did. Like,
Uh, Literally, a kid reached out to me last week.
uh-huh.
Uh, saying, could you do a podcast? And I said, sure. And I said, what's the premise? And he said, X-Men, the animated series. And I went, okay, but just so you know, I did the voice. I think I was Guard. I went in the initial castings. I went in for Wolverine.
Okay.
And I got close on Wolverine. I actually went in for the Bryan Singer. I went in for Wolverine there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I walked into the room, and again I was. This was back when the warehouse was a temple, but I had goatee, I had the sideburns, and I walked in, and the guy looked at me, and goes, "Wow, you look like Wolverine," and I said, "No, I am Wolverine." I said, "Because I've got one thing that no one coming into this room has. I'm Canadian, and Wolverine's the only Canadian superhero." And I said, the only question I have is I read this entire sides, and he doesn't say bub once. What gives? And the guy was like, well, because I was playing. I was having a lot of fun. Had a jean jacket on with no shirt underneath, just putting buttoned up, and had these blue and white striped prison pants. Oh God, I was having so much fun. I got a call back for that, and then whatever it went. Whatever. But so I was up for Wolverine on the animated, didn't get it. And then I went back for a role called Cannonball, I think.
Oh,
And
I love Cannonball.
They left the house mics up, and I heard them discussing my audition, and the consensus was, he just sounds too much like Wolverine. I was like, yeah. So again, this kid reaches out to me last week, and I said, look, there's a misconception. I said, I played Banshee in the live Fox movie. I'm not the voice of Banshee on X-Men. And he said, but it says on IMDb you are. I said, yeah, I don't know how to get it off. And it's been plaguing me for the last 20 odd years that I always get this, hey, you're the voice. It's like, no, I don't know how it started. I don't know how it ended up on my IMDb page because I didn't put it there. And no, and in fact, I did Richard Scary with a group of people. I was Bananas Gorilla. Bananas! And one of the guys on that is the voice of Banshee. And when I got back from Generation X, he was like, you got any tips, man? Because like I do the voice of Banshee. And I was like, oh, this is what I did in the live action. Like we were comparing notes, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, this guy, he was like, oh, well, sorry to bother you. And I was like, yeah, I'm really not an X-Men animated series guest that you're going to get a lot from because I played a guard, Alter Ghost. And then he said, like, do you know anyone? And I said, buddy, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know anyone? And I'm going,
it's kind of ballsy.
Well, yeah. But kudos to the guy. I mean, I give him credit. He's working it. So I said, I'll see what I can do. And I reached out to my buddy. He went by Justin Lewis back in the day, and now he's Louis Ferrer. He's the only one. And we were direct competitors.
Right.
If I didn't get the gig, he got the gig. If I got the gig, so we never worked together because we were always up against each other. And we connected down here years later with that thing of like, yeah, we never worked together because we were always up against each other. And so we never got to know each other. Then we were like a block and a half away from each other down in Los Angeles, got a friendship going. And now we, text and Zoom and whatever the fuck. So I reached out to him. Again, this is all last week. This is like 3 days.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him. I said, hey, there's this kid that's doing a podcast. about X-Men, the animated series. I said, did you do a voice on? Because I don't know anybody else now in that world. The voice has changed
Did you
so
say?
much.
Did you say he thinks I'm Banshee?
Well, I said, I was like, he knew. And he said, no, 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 I never did one. Because they said I sounded too much like Wolverine. And I was like, yes, that's fine. And they called him in at one point. He did one line. And he did the line for me on the phone, which was hysterically, where are you going, bub? Or whatever the hell it was. But we both laughed our asses off going, even we were up against each other and got the same rationale for not getting the gig, that we both sounded too much like Wolverine. It just cracked me up.
Oh my god. So yeah, I'm kind of cool that I kind of knew that because I watched the show and I don't know, I just never thought it really sounded like you. Even though I know the point of voice acting is changing it, you could kind of tell in a way. You know what I mean? Like you could like Frank Welker, you could kind of in a way tell it's Frank Welker. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I don't
Not
know who
really.
Frank Welker is, but I'll take your
Oh,
word for
yeah, he does Scooby Doo and all those things. But
it. Oh, you look back in the day, because like my guys were the Justice League.
yeah,
Those were voice actors that you could hear a mile away. Uh,
yeah.
uh, uh, and it's funny because now when you look at, I think the Batman in the Justice League, oh Robin, like just to kind of on that side note, whatever happened, and all of a sudden, Batman is going to talk like this. Like, I was like, what? When the hell did this happen? When did Batman start sounding like Nick Nolte meets Tom Waits on a binge?
On your podcast where you review critique movies and stuff, have you ever like gone an in-depth review of Joker?
No,
Oh, okay. I was curious to see what your thoughts on that film was, but has nothing to do with you. So I'm
no, no. We've done how it started. I met Ethan at a premiere, and it was like, "Oh, you two guys." Da, 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 da. We started talking, and then COVID hit, and I had done his radio show. I got to hang out with Joe Ives, who was the art director on Jaws and
yeah.
Close Encounters. And this guy talks about pitching, the different scenarios to Spielberg. It was so cool. And the guy that designs all the rides at Disney. I've got to hang out with some wild people inside the industry. And then COVID hit, and my youngest, who was 10 at the time, we started watching 70s disaster movies. So we
Oh,
did
nice.
Earthquake, Towering Inferno, all the airport movies. What else? But I reached out to Ethan and I said, we should do a podcast and break down these movies, because the funniest thing, did you know Los Angeles at all?
Yeah, I know Los Angeles.
Okay, so living here, I saw Earthquake when I was 10 years old in the theater, and I think it had sense around, like they had things in the seats that would shake to give you like
Right.
it was a sense experience.
The experience.
But now living down here and watching the movie, I was 10 when I saw it first. My son's 10 when we're watching it here, but he grew up here. And if you remember Miles, Richard Roundtree does this death-defying motorcycle thing.
Hmm.
It's ramps that goes a circle, and then he goes through a burning hoop. This is his audition for Las Vegas. I even remember as a kid, it was like, it wasn't that death defying. You
Yeah.
know, by 75, I don't know where Evil Knievel was at the time, but Evil Knievel was doing like some death defying, like, and he's crashed. We'd seen that. So this little loop-de-loop and through the flaming, and I also remember thinking they have the flame, but the flames are going up and he's going through the center.
Uh-huh.
So the flames on top don't really affect him at all. It's not death defying when the flames are shooting above you and they're above you.
Right.
But that whole sequence takes place in the parking lot where I coached my 7-year-old baseball, Toluca
Oh my
Lake baseball.
God.
And all of a sudden it was like all the fanfare, all the like mystique. It was like, that's the parking lot of Toluca Lake baseball. I park there every weekend. It was like it was so funny to see that. And then the other thing that I saw in that movie, just to kind of, again, not a little tangent, but Walter Matthau is in it, and he's got this. It's not his name. He's the drunk in the bar, and at the end, when they take everyone into the underground, above the fault line, I don't know when, but he's dancing in the background. There's a group of people, and there's like this faux stage, and he's drunk dancing. And I've just I don't have the pathway to find out. It's like, does anyone have a backstory on this? Like, why he was? I think they shot him probably out in 2 days, because all this stuff is he's in the bar, drunk at the bar, earthquake, and then he's at a shelter, and that's it. He's got a different name, and I just go, was he a friend of somebody's? Was like, did he owe someone a favor? Like, why was he in this movie in that capacity?
It's because they couldn't afford Jack Lemmon.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, that is funny because Jack Lemmon's always driven me crazy. I want to get. Speaking of which, he does Airport 75, I think, and it's so funny. It's just an ad for the Navy. There's artwork on a plane, and they crash the plane into shallow waters, and they're gonna get up. But it was Brenda Vaccaro.
Oh yeah.
Now, sorry, where are you from?
I live in Huntington Beach, but I've been in Los Angeles. Like I go to LA all the time. I do stand-up comedy. So
Yeah, but I do. Do you know much about Canada?
no, I don't. I mean, I've been to Toronto, but I don't know anything.
Okay, sorry, just because I had that Norm Macdonald connection, and I went, oh, well, maybe you can. Okay, so back in the day, we had Second City,
Improv
and
troupe.
yeah, and it turned into a TV show, and
John Candy, right? Or what?
Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara,
Rick
Andrea
Moranis.
Martin,
Yeah.
Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, um, and I got a interesting one about his brother and how where that came from, which I didn't know. It's hysterical. But Andrea Martin, there was a Brenda Vaccaro who was in Airport. She did a tampon ad, and I don't know if it ran down here, but it
Right.
ran up in Canada, and you could hear her breathing. So she was like, "Hi, I'm Brenda Vaccaro, and I'd like to talk to you about OBTF." And it was, even as a kid, you're going, "What? Why can we hear her breathing? She's breathing like Jason or Mike Myers, or whatever." It was hysterical, and it was always I've always been uncomfortable with tampon ads regardless. It's like, why are we bringing this up? I'm watching the ball game. Don't
Yeah.
want to have to think about menstrual cycles. I just, yeah. But Andrea Martin did a spoof of it. And it was, hi, I'm Brenda Vaccaro. She did this unbelievable, now my throat's off.
Mason jar. Drink out of a mason jar. I love it.
It's my coffee moonshine. um, she did that spoof. And at that point, I didn't really even know Brenda Vaccaro, and apologies to her. She must be a nice woman, all that stuff. She did have a very unique voice, but I don't know anything else. I'd have to pull her up on IMDb to see what she did, because there's nothing that I know her for.
Right.
And then I see Airport 75 again. Jack Lemmon is the pilot. She's the head stewardess. There's a love thing. And again, this is now 5 years ago, but he's thinking about retiring. She's thinking about retiring. And now they've had this on again, off again. And it's like, hey, maybe we can finally, settle down and have kids. Well, I looked them up, and they were both in their 50s in 1975 when this was going on. I was like, how the hell are you guys going to retire and have kids at 50 in 1975? I just didn't, but I think they were trying to make them look like they were 35, which is the other old thing of all of a sudden you've got.
Back then, that was the age limit, right, of kids.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's like when a friend of mine had to be best friends with Sharon Stone in a movie, and he was 25 years her junior. Yeah. And it was just because they were trying to make Sharon Stone look younger. It's like, so having watched that, and I've seen Lemon a few times, if I had the stomach for it, he's got this cadence that drives me crazy because he does it the same way every time. And it's like, listen, the plane's in trouble, but we've got to do there. But if you're telling me that I can't do it, he does the same switch every time. And I know that, if I studied it long enough, I could get it down to be the point where I could embarrass his entire platform. It's the same way. There's a guy, I don't know the comedian, but have you seen, there's this comedian that does Denzel Washington ordering a Subway sandwich?
No.
And it's hysterical because he takes everything that Denzel does and puts it into the sandwich shop. And you can't look at him the same again. The same, who is it? Another Saturday Night alumni. I should have his name, but he does. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing because I don't know his name or the guy he's imitating, but he does a 40s screen icon trying to order donuts with a coupon that's out of date. And it's the most ridiculous premise, but he nails it. It's funny as hell. And I can't remember either name.
That sounds like I was gonna say that sounds like John Lovitz, but John Lovitz was the liar guy who does that. Yeah. Oh, Jeremy, I want to respect your time, but I have 4 more questions I didn't get to. Can I ask these real fast? Oh, okay.
Keep it coming, baby.
I wanted to ask you about Fly Away Home, because when I was growing up, that was like a really important movie to me. That was probably one of my most favorite movies. And I wanted to know, like, when you got that script, like how did it read? Because that's a very unique premise, and then you get it, and you're working with Jeff Daniels, who's like one of those guys who writes when he's not acting type thing because he's a playwright. So I wanted to know, like, how is that filming experience like?
Uh, it was. It's funny, like the different pockets in your life. We were all on set when the OJ verdict came down.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. And here I was trying to explain to Anna Paquin, who was 11 years old at the time, why everyone was so upset.
Huh.
Because everyone just had that feeling of, when that verdict came, they went, like, what? It seems like it was all obvious, but uh, the movie itself, I remember the one, I'll give you a little background, whatever the fuck. There was nothing my character was doing that was evil.
Yeah.
I likened myself to a dentist. Children fear me, but I'm actually doing good for them. And I was saving the geese because the geese that don't get their wings clipped if they are orphaned fly around in circles and end up dead, freezing to death because they don't know how to migrate without the parent. And that's the premise of the whole thing, that she teaches them to migrate like Bill Lishman did. But at the end of the movie, the way it was written, I show up there and I'm going to arrest her or whatever I'm going to do. And Jeff Daniels knocks me out. It's the big
Yeah.
moment at the end. It's like, I'm going to get that. Because I come in going, oh, this is illegal, but bam. And my first day on set was the infamous scene of trying to clip the wings and getting thrown out of the house. So I meet Dana Delaney, Jeff, and Anna all the same day doing that big scene. And I took them aside and said, there's nothing I do that's evil. Like, I'm not like, so do you just want me to be an asshole? Like, am I going to
Right.
play an asshole? Because even in the first scene that I think I'm in, I stand up at a town meeting saying, hey, we got to think about this. Like, I'm not going, this, like, I'm not Quint from Jaws. Like, so I said, what's going to be the motivation for Jeff Daniels to punch me in the face? And uh, Daniels even said, he goes, don't worry, I'll get there, or something to that effect. Like, don't let this worry you. But I was like, okay, but I'm on day one here. And if there's nothing driving me to be an asshole, I either have to like just do it or not.
Right.
Uh, and the wonderful thing about that movie was, because of the epic shots, there was a lot of time you'd get to work, you'd rehearse things, and then you'd sit around for a long time. And then when magic hour hit, you're doing scene after scene after scene in that hour, because the horizon is gold,
Yeah.
and it was all sweeping shots like that. So very early on, they kind of took it to heart that there was nothing in my character that made me a douchebag. Even when I try and steal the geese, I'm doing it for their good. And they eventually rewrote stuff so that I'm now fighting with a supervisor, because I'm kind of leaning towards the good of what she's doing rather than being the asshole.
Right.
So that at the end of the movie, I show up, and as she's landing, one of the producers took me aside and said, oh, it was a great moment you had yesterday. because as the people rush to her, I don't walk right away. I take in the moment and take in the realization of, oh my God, this 11-year-old girl just saved these geese and she's done something incredible. And it's like, as the park ranger, it was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
You don't know this if you watch it again. Oh, so the bulldozers come in and a woman hands me her baby because I'm dressed as a civilian. I don't have my ranger uniform on, but a woman hands me her baby and sits in front of the bulldozers or something like that. I'm standing beside Jeff Daniels for that last speech. For his last speech to the crowd, you'll see my shoulder. I'm standing right beside him. They had to use a close-up for the entire speech because they wrote out the whole back end of my character because they couldn't. The movie went too long. Also, but the change they made to make me kind of a good guy all of a sudden didn't work. Ended up on the editing floor, and then they had to like seriously cut me out of the scenes because there was no. You could go. It would have been. Is that the Ranger? Like it didn't make sense. So it's quite funny. That's cinematic. What do they call it? Cinematic immunity.
Or
So yeah,
or cinematic magic or cinematic curse, whatever. Right.
yeah.
So my my second question out of the four I have remaining, I wanted to talk to you about Cold Case because you said yourself you'd done a lot of detective stuff, and I wanted to know, like, to prepare for it, like, did you ever like ride with real detectives to see what they do, or like did you just like go into it? Because a lot of people, they kind of go dive into research.
Uh, yeah, I've known uh the most famous one, I guess. Again, doing Top Cops up in Canada. Sonny Grosso was the producer of that. Sonny
Hmm.
Grosso is Roy Schreider character in The French Connection. Gene Hackman is Popeye Doyle. Plenty of people enhance your evening. That's how we got the nickname from the night judge. Sonny did his own story of the two of them. Egan was the first guy to go undercover. He dressed up as Santa Claus, and it's in The French Connection. But he dressed up as Santa Claus, and he had a bell, and if he was singing Jingle Bells with his right hand, with the bell in right hand, it meant the guy he was had the bell over had just bought drugs. If he's singing Silent Night, it means this guy's selling drugs, and he worked it out. So when people would walk away from him being Santa, giving out candy, they were making these arrests. So Sonny did that story of sort of the first technical disguised undercover cop. He went undercover as Santa Claus. Sonny did that episode on his show and hired me to play Egan. And Egan came up and was in Toronto for 2 weeks. And I got to spend a week with one of the most famous uh, 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 cops ever.
Yeah.
And the legacy. What do you think of Hackman and The French Connection? I worked with Hackman on Unforgiveness, and we share a role. That was wild, and the stories that he told are unbelievable.
Really.
Yeah, the story, like the beat cops in the 50s, and Sonny, rest his soul, Sonny had stories like, oh my God. Uh, so yeah, each one of those shows you got to hang out with the cops that you were doing. Um, there was one guy, I won't say his name, he's undercover, completely unassuming. Uh, but he could run you down. Uh, we were at lunch one day, and the continuity woman kind of went, she didn't buy, because his thing is he goes into these situations, he doesn't have a badge, he
Yeah.
doesn't have a gun, he's just using his wits. So he's got to read everyone. He's got to get, who's going to be first at me, who's going to be the leader, da, da, da. And the continuity woman, she said something like, I don't buy it. And he goes, okay. And he said, that sweater you're wearing, that's the only one you have like that, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, he said, like, and I'm gonna do a bad job of it, but it was like, the necklace and the wedding ring, that's the only jewelry you wear, right? You don't wear earrings, you don't wear. She was like, well, and he goes, have you been married for more than 10? What, you have kids? Yeah. He goes, 3? And she goes, 2. He goes, are you planning on having another one? She goes, well, and he just, like a gypsy, described her entire life over lunch. And that was wild.
Yeah. It would have been funny if he said, I'm almost 35.
Yeah. Hey, no, tell me something. Something I can't do.
And then so my second to last question, I
Sorry, hold
think
on. But our
oh,
tech
okay.
advisor on Cold Case, our tech advisor on Cold Case, Bob, he was a part of the Wonderland uh, investigation, the porn star, all that stuff up in the hills.
Okay.
And he was undercover a lot too. And the wildest thing about him, he'd fall asleep on set, as we all do. You know, I used to go around with a camera, and one of my gags was trying to get pictures of people sleeping on set, because we all do. But
Right.
the wildest thing about Bob Sousa, when he wakes up, he looks like he's about to fucking kill somebody. And it's because he was constantly undercover with some of the baddest motherfuckers going. So he'd be asleep on set, and also his instinct waking up is to kind of go, who the fuck am I gonna kill? Because I don't know who the fuck's waking me up. It was wild. The nicest guy in the world. But it was just that one thing about when he wakes up from a dead sleep, he looks like he's ready to fucking take on all comers. So go ahead.
But no, I like that's funny because when people are sleeping, when you wake up, that's when you're like, Um, I wanted to ask about working with Catherine Morris because I think she's one of the most talented actresses ever, and plus I'm secretly in love with her. So like it was like how was it like working with her because she's one of those actresses that like she could just give you something and then you could turn it around and give that same thing back to her like it's like ping pong, just ping and pong and the chemistry, you know what I mean?
Um, One, you got to get in line.
Yeah.
I haven't met too many people that think that I can curry favor with her because they're in love with her because we're pals. Uh, and as an actress, I don't want to say she's underrated. She's just not. Uh, Her dedication, like when they say things rot from the head down, or from the head down, like we were known as a great show to work on.
Yeah.
Uh, in the thick of it, we all had different relationships. You know, TB and I had a relationship, John Finn, like we all had different relationships. And I always found it magic when I was working with Catherine. Um, and it's been really, in hindsight, because she and I still talk all the time. But I'll catch an episode on TV some points. It's on in the background.
Hmm.
I reached out to her like a month and a half ago. And I can't even remember. We did over 100 of these things, but she does a scene with John Finn, and I was almost in tears. And this is, a while ago, people I know, a show I knew, like blah, blah, blah. And the two of them, it was poetry. It was artwork. It was the nuance, the subtleties, and I guess the biggest test, or sort of the reverse compliment, is when you can't see the work, you have no idea how good the work is. And because there's a term, Tom Barry and I were partners on the show, and Tom Barry has got so many, for lack of a better word, but I would say black expressions. There's raising hell and putting a chunk under it, pitch a bitch. He just had these kind of black slangs that I was like, you gotta write a book. You gotta write a book. I'm loving these things. What's the other one? What you doing? Well, I'm fucking the dog and selling the puppies. Like, he just had these. But one of my favorite, I passed on to my son, because you'll see it on set. This will come full circle. But we had a guy, a guest star, and as TB said, "Oof, that boy be acting." And it's Ackkin, acting. That boy be acting. And that became, it's still one of my favorite phrases. Because whenever I see, my son and I were watching these movies, and you'll see someone try to eat the scenery, it's like, whoo, he be acting, be acting. And now it's even better. I found this radio station down here, 97.5, and it comes out of Santa Clarita or something. But the signal, if I go too far in any direction, it changes into something else. So it's not a powerful, beam. But they also advertise, coming to you from Passaic, coming to you. And one of the counties that they come from, live from Acken. And every day in the car, it hits me. Oh, it's Acken. Acken. But sorry, to answer the original question, yeah, Catherine's the real deal. She's the real deal.
Yeah. And then my last question for you, this is a question not about your career, but about you, I don't know, I guess personally or spiritually. If you were a Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor, what would your ice cream flavor be and what would you call it?
Oh boy, I should have been ready for this one. I think you asked Catherine. The funny thing is, I don't eat ice cream.
Okay.
I read a book. It's like a blueprint for your body, and the guy says, once you find out what ice cream does to your insulin levels, the spikes, he says,
It kills you. Yeah.
It says have fresh raspberries with handmade whipped cream, get the fix. But I had ice cream, can't remember, like 10 years ago, and I came home and I passed out for 2 hours, and it was like the living example of, oh my God. So I haven't touched it since. But if I had to be a Ben and Jerry's, what would I call? And sorry, because I don't know the world really either. They've got all the crazy names, right? Like the Grateful Dead, Mother Butter, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
When I did do it, I loved coffee ice cream. You know what? I don't want to let you down, dude, but I don't have that zinger. Like the Kooky Cafe.
We could come up with one together. We could call it I Didn't Voice Banshee.
What?
Right? And then we could have like chocolate chunks, right? With the raspberries, right? and then a swirl of vanilla if you like vanilla, right? And then like just put like food coloring for Banshee, like the blue and the green. You know what I mean?
I don't. Now I'm trying to think. What would be again, since I liked coffee ice cream, it would be acting like coffee.
That's great. Oh,
Or
acting like
there's
coffee.
one of TB's what was I loved it because it was like one of his expressions was "we're raising hell and putting a chunk under it."
Oh,
And I
I
said,
like that one too.
"Oh yeah," and I said, "Like break that down because raise it up, just put something in there so that so that would be another one.
Oh,
Raising hell and putting a chocolate chunk under it.
ah. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for talking to me. Where can the folks at home follow and support you? Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that?
Uh, I'm on Instagram. That's the one I use the most, and I'm not. I just post goofy. It's the goofy stuff I love. Uh, I seem to be, yeah, Instagram. I think it's just Jeremy underscore Ratchford. Uh, on Facebook, Jeremy Ratchford, but I don't. I don't do Facebook that much anymore.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, I had a Twitter that I never used. I was doing a movie. Uh, I can't remember this. She was the hot actress at the time. Uh,
Catherine Morris?
no,
Oh, she's
something.
still hot. Elizabeth
She's on a
Hurley.
show.
Oh, she's on a show
She,
now. I'm just
uh,
naming hot actresses. Sorry.
she took my phone to. I think we were going to exchange Twitter or whatever. And I'll never forget. She goes, "Oh, you have one tweet."
That's
I
happened
was,
to me a few times.
and I think I haven't tweeted one. Like I think that was the only. I've never. I remember when it first came out too, and what, what, what are you gonna do? Hey, I'm taking a poo. Like, what are you doing during the day that you have? Oh, I'm in the car. Well, I'm going grocery shopping. Like, what? I actually come from the school. We've been talking a bit about this lately too. It's just like I come from like I'll do this. Sure, we're talking about the business and all that stuff, but when it comes down to it, I don't have people in my house that I don't know.
Mhm.
Like it's like I'm not broadcasting 24/7, and I see some of these people now where it's just this constant need to be on a
Famous.
screen.
Yeah.
And well, that's I've always had the theory that people want to be famous by Friday, but they've got no plans for the weekend.
Hmm.
And it's that weekend that fucks you up because fame is like a fight. It's always looking for you. You can find it if you work hard enough and that's what you want, but the price tag is huge because you
Yeah.
got to kind of give up everything. You can't go anywhere. I'd
I've,
rather
I
just be
I
doing my thing.
forgot who said it, so maybe like my quote is wrong, but I read that someone said anyone can be famous. The trick is staying famous and staying as a good person because the more famous you get, there's a rumor you're less likely being a good person.
Yeah, well, and I think that there's so much of that.
Yeah.
Uh, but then there's the opposite side of that too. That there's the good people that when you meet them too, you're like, oh yes.
And,
There's a
and Jeremy,
gentleman.
you're one of those good people. Like when I meet you, I'm like, ah, yes.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Um, that's the other kind of rule of thumb too. That usually the guy playing the bad guy is the nicest person you'll ever meet. The guy playing the good guy is usually a douche. Always makes, yeah. Yeah, and there's nothing worse. I've had great experiences. I met Chris Christopherson and we hit it off. I've met some of my idols and it was great. And then there are occasions too where you meet someone and you go, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I wish I had
Well, I'm glad you're not one of those, Jeremy, and thank you so much. It was an honor to meet you and talk to you, and I hope we can do this again, man. I think we bonded really well.
Anytime, brother, anytime.
All right.
I had a lot of fun.
Have a great day, Jeremy, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too. All right, brother.
All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts.